On this week's episode, Bill and Ted face the music. Is it time to return to the Haunted Mansion? And we remember the life of Chadwick Boseman. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back for another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We truly appreciate it. Plus, if you can like, support, share, follow, whatever you can do for us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, we truly appreciate it. Plus, I wanted to go ahead and give an extra special shout out to our coverage on the Lakers Fast Break. Each and every day, we're covering the NBA playoffs. So if you can, give us a listen at the Lakers Fast Break. It is also truly appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own Gamer Deluxe of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to do it. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Also, his great shows, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast, plus his book, which you need to go ahead and check out right away, Congratulations, You Suck, which is now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? I'm just browsing these all the Gamescom announcements. Not a lot of exciting stuff going on. What were you expecting? Big announcements? Because I kind of was, and I feel very disappointed. Unless they're gonna change my mind today,
I don't think they're going to change your mind today, so I don't think we'll have anything new to add. So I don't think there's any rush for us to go ahead and have a later recording on this. So I will tell you right now that I am truly disappointed in Gamescom this year. I don't think Gamescom really was that big and influential, which is kind of a shame because in the years leading up to this year for Gamescom, I don't think that anybody had said that, you know what, it's going to be somewhat subdued. It was actually on the rise. It was challenging E3. Obviously, popularity-wise, it was trouncing E3 because the fact that when people were able to go to Gamescom like last year and the year before and the year before, they were getting, it was always open to the public. So you would have always well over 100,000, 150,000, 180,000 people attending it. So just by the sheer number of gamers heading towards Gamescom, that part of it would always end up beating E3 because E3, as you know, just now started getting into letting in people, letting in the general public. But as far as news is concerned, there was more and more developers and publishers wanting to bring news, show footage, bring out new games into the whole Gamescom experience. And that seems to be a little bit subdued this year. I think it goes back to what we've talked about already with what we've seen with E3 and what we've seen with San Diego Comic-Con. All these publishers want to start doing their own thing. And if that's the case, especially the big ones, they're going to go ahead and hold everything for themselves or save it for like a Sony State of Play or a Nintendo dropping their own thing or even an Xbox dropping their own thing. They're going to save it for their shows to try and go ahead and appease those big publishers instead.
Sorry, Microsoft usually does something at Gamescom. They usually have some kind of conference there. So I was kind of expecting them to talk more about the Xbox Series X and when that will be dropped. Because I saw over the weekend Best Buy started playing PlayStation 5 commercials, but you still can't pre-order them. So I was expecting like either a price point or a release date. And we are now hitting September. We're 2 months away from the release of these consoles, and I am under the impression from both parties that they're just not ready to come out. Because we still don't have a release date, still don't have a price point. I feel like we're going to have the release date, and then a week later it'll drop, or they'll just say, "Hey, available today." This is not giving me confidence in what these consoles are going to do, and I feel like neither of them are ready to be released.
I don't feel like they're ready either. And you see already with the signs with PlayStation severely limiting its pre-orders for its own PlayStation 5 and Xbox. You really don't hear much about it all, as far as, like you said, with a exact release date or exact, nobody's talking. They're not, neither of them. We don't even know the price. We don't even know the price of the actual units themselves at this point in time, which is going into it really bad, because people at this point in time, more than any other, need to know what a price is, because money is kind of tight at this point in time because of everything that's going on with the coronavirus. So I don't know, my friend. Both are not planning this out well. And I think this is going to go down in history as saying, you know what, maybe they should have waited at least a year or more.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Corona is kind of slowing things down a little bit, but and by all appearances, it seems to be that these consoles, I'm wondering if they were even ready to be released before Corona happened. Like, I don't. I know that as far as like the distribution chain goes, I know things are damaged just a tiny bit, but I don't think that it's really harming a whole lot of things. So it makes me wonder, like, was this even, were these even prepared to go out? It's just, and I look at the slow year of gaming that we've had. Like, what exactly is going on? Are Xbox, are is Microsoft and PlayStation and Sony, are they even putting effort into this? Like, there's a lot of expectations hinging on this, and there's just, it seems like we're not getting uh people just aren't getting what they're, I guess, not expecting, but people aren't getting what they're needing from these even before release.
Especially because that there's a great possibility that this could be one of the higher price point releases for a general new upgrade into a new evolution of gaming. So because PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, they're rumored to be as high as $600. And although the PlayStation 3 and occasionally it gets to that high amount, the units they want to go ahead and sell, if they're rumored to be around $500-600, people need to know that. People need to understand that holidays around the corner. Again, money is tight because of COVID, and these publishers, Xbox and PlayStation, they just need to understand people need to save money for it. If you want to sell these during the holiday season, even in any short supply, you need to understand that people need to know how much this stuff costs, and so they can go ahead and allocate their money. They just don't have $500-600 always lying around.
Yeah, and like from a consumer perspective, especially now considering COVID times, like people are going to start doing their Christmas shopping in September. If there's a sale going on, people are going to do some Christmas shopping. Like, they're going to start gathering things up now, as opposed to blowing a bunch of money all at once during December, just because I don't think people will be able to afford to do that this year. So really, like, if you want people to buy these consoles, you need to give them a release date. You need to give them a price point, and especially at a higher price point, the fact that we don't know anything about it yet, it goes to show me that, like, it doesn't give me a lot of faith, and it goes to show me that they don't really have a lot of faith in their own products.
It shows me as well, and that's a very concerning sign. I'm leaning not going ahead and buying a new system anytime soon because of it. Because if they're not prepared to go ahead and share their wares in full, at least at this point in time, it's not at the absolute end part as far as the where you should be setting it, but at least give some people preparation time. You don't have any type of leeway now. You're in that window where you need to tell people right now how much your unit is costing. What are the parameters? Are you having more than one model? Xbox has already said they're going to have more than one model, but what are the price points? What are the specs on each of them? We need to know these things. What's the availability? We need to know these things now, because if you don't, there are going to be a lot of consoles for the next generation still sitting on shelves by the end of the year.
And like, I'm predicting right now that there will be. Like, I have a feeling that I probably won't even need to pre-order anything. I just go up to Target or Walmart and pick one up, because nobody's, and if there's no news now, nobody's really gonna. I feel like nobody's really gonna know anything about them coming out when they do come out. So I'm on the fence right now. I really don't trust putting that volume of money into a purchase that has just been not talked about by anybody.
I'm on the fence too, but I'm actually kind of leaning more off of it right now than on. But we'll have to wait and see, my friend, as we go on month by month, because it doesn't seem like there's anything breaking when it comes to these big two, when it comes to the next generation of consoles and gaming. So I am concerned as you are in regards to the future of the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and the PlayStation 5. Want to hear everyone's thoughts out there on this current generation? Are you ready to buy now? Are you still confused, or are you still kind of hesitant because PlayStation and Microsoft have both been very reluctant to give out any kind of real information on the availability and price point for either of their new systems? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, we've got a great episode that we're going to be talking about a lot of great things, but we are going to spend a great deal of time here in a couple minutes on Chadwick Boseman, the late Chadwick Boseman. Hopefully, we're going to go ahead and pay a nice tribute to him over the next few minutes. Plus, also as well, we're going to be talking about Class Action Park on HBO Max, Bill and Ted's Face the Music. Josh is going to have some reviews coming up for you. And also PUBG Mobile being promoted by Epic. What's the story there coming up later in the show? And Haunted Mansion, we could be seeing a movie from that from Disney once again. But first, my friend, it is the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Obviously, most people know him from his role as King T'Challa in Black Panther. It was shocking, came out of nowhere for a lot of people. In fact, our good friend Noah Ian Fine said that exact same words today, that this is just something very tragic. He had been experiencing at least stage 3. I most assuredly probably went up to stage 4, colon cancer since 2016. He's been battling it, and it's just truly a tragic story for such a great actor. Had so much more left to give to this world, not only just on the screen, but off. I want to hear your thoughts on the passing of Chadwick Boseman. When we heard the news, it just devastated. The tweet honoring his memory from his family that posted it on his Twitter account. It's the most liked tweet ever. So I want to hear your thoughts on the passing of Chadwick Boseman.
So I was I was actually sitting there rewatching Suicide Squad. Was not a great idea, but I just wanted to refresh my memory on it.
Suffer through the pain, man. Suffer through the pain.
Yeah, I actually, when we're done talking about Chadwick Boseman, I need to talk to you about the Harley Quinn movie for a second. So I remember sitting there watching this. All of a sudden, that popped. My brother sends me this text message and it says Chadwick Boseman dead. I'm like, no. It's like that whole the reaction I felt when I got a text saying Paul Walker was dead. I'm like, no, that's not true. That can't. No. And so I look it up. All these articles are popping up. Chadwick Boseman died of colon cancer. And at first I was like, oh, it's going to be like Corona, or they're going to assume it's Corona or whatever. But it wasn't. It was colon cancer. And then I sit there thinking, I'm like, I didn't even know he had colon cancer. Like I knew nothing about it. And to think that he was diagnosed in 2016, he has accomplished so much in this 4 years that he has, since his diagnosis. Like I knew nothing about it. I had no idea. And there he is playing this like physically exhausting part in Black Panther, and he played the cop, and I forget what that movie was called, but he's done so much in such a short period of time, and he's
21
Bridges, 21
Yeah.
Bridges, and he's become like an icon for people, a pop culture icon, and it was shocking to read about this because, again, I had no idea, and it's one of those things where like you look at these people on TV or these superheroes, especially in these Marvel and DC films, and you're like, they are heroes in real life. There's no way anything could hurt them. They could survive crime, they could survive car accidents, they could survive anything because they are heroes. And then you think about somebody like in the context of Black Panther being taken out by cancer, and it it's kind of emotionally devastating,
It
you know, and,
is.
and like yeah.
It was just very sad, man. When I got the news, and my daughter actually told it to me because it popped up on her Apple ID, and I, I I thought she was wrong. I thought, come on, that's some fake news stuff. Come on, that can't be right. And then she said, no, it's posted by Variety. It's posted by Hollywood Reporter. I'm like, oh my gosh. Then because they're two of the most legit entertainment news outlets that I have a tendency to believe a lot what they say. So I looked into it. Yeah, sure enough, and man, it was just so devastating. I sat there and I was taken aback because you didn't know he made no public inference to this that he was having this battle. I know a lot of people were kind of worried in with some of his latest or most recent video offerings that he was looking not so well. So people thought it might have been for role, but they weren't. They were kind of concerned. But yeah, he really gave the public no inference on this, and obviously, just amazing that he was going through all this, but yet he was still able to do so much.
Well, what does that tell you too about his personality? Like he didn't make any public mention of it, and it's because he did not want any. And here's another thing: like during all the political stuff going on, he never like got up there and made a plea for, like most people make these big pleas for, like, yeah, for like sympathy and stuff, and he never once did that. Like he was a very humble man, and he is like, I had I while Black Panther was not my favorite Marvel film, I did really enjoy it. Like I admired the man a great
Yeah.
deal. Like he was such a great person. Like he did so many things for people. He's involved in charities. He never wanted people to feel sorry for him. He's a shining example of how somebody can rise above their circumstances. And like it is, yeah, this is like I don't usually care. This sounds cold hearted, but I don't usually care when celebrities pass away, just because like it is sad, but it's just like I don't have any connection to them. But I do have this, as a comic book fan, I did feel a connection to Chadwick Boseman, and it is, yeah, it was a very emotional loss.
And my wife was very affected by it as well when she heard the news because she heard it late. She didn't hear it right away, and she couldn't believe it. Like a lot of people, we didn't believe. You tell me that, or I told you that, or however this word is getting passed out about his death. We're just like, come on, he's Black
Yeah,
Panther. Yeah,
yeah,
well,
he
you
can't
got to be
die.
kidding, man. Yeah, I
He
can't.
can't die.
That's one of those things where you say, "Oh, this person has died, and it's a fake thing," and you just clickbait, and you go ahead and you read like 15 ads to tell you, "Oh no, he's actually alive." No, it just was devastating. Everybody in my family was very sad upon the news, and I did watch Black Panther last night, hopefully as a tribute in some small way to his greatness. And I'm just so sad at this point in time, and I know you are as well. And I know thousands upon millions are really sad tonight about his passing because of the influence that he has, about the legacy he leaves. Even though he doesn't have the huge embodiment of films, he still has many great appearances as Jackie Robinson in 42. In fact, he passed away on such a momentous day for the history of Jackie Robinson. It's so ironic that happened, but he's got a lot of roles under his belt that are of note. But Black Panther, it's just so sad to see that all this is going to have to change because of such a tragic death, because he had so much more to give, not just for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for all of us in the world as well.
Yeah, I mean, and look at this. It's honestly, it's like being told Superman's dead. It's just, it feels like it was an impossibility. And I know Black Panther 2 is scheduled to go into production in a few months, and I'm curious like what they're going to do about that now. And I would hope that they would write his part off, not just replace the actor, but like continue that legacy in a way that's honoring to him. And like he went out at having taken part in one of like the most momentous pop culture moments in history in Avengers Endgame. And like I he will always be remembered. He will absolutely always be remembered.
He will definitely be remembered indeed. And I want to give a big shout out to Troy Brewer of the Discovery Community Network, who's sharing our video as we speak. And sending out the love and respect that we have for Chadwick Boseman. Also, as well, Jessica Boggs for leaving her comment, and just obviously Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. And just there's so many out there that are so devastated by his death. And again, I want to ask you this, my friend, as we continue our discussion on Chadwick Boseman, is there's going to be a difficult conversation that takes place soon at Marvel Studios. When is the appropriate time to start having these conversations? Because you alluded to Black Panther too. There are things that are going to have to be changed. I know a lot of fans out there are already saying they don't want his role recast per se, and a new King T'Challa take place. But when is the proper time even for us on this show? When is the proper time for us to go ahead and start talking about the plans going ahead for the Marvel Cinematic Universe when it comes to the Black Panther series and all that? Because I'm hoping it will continue in some form or fashion.
So, in regards to that, like, I would love to see. I obviously, like, just from a production standpoint, the show has to go on, right? But I would like to see maybe his younger sister take on the role of Black Panther, or whoever was next in line for the throne. But I would like to see them do it in a way that is honoring to Chadwick Boseman. Not in a simple like Paul Walker driving away in the end of Fast and Furious way, but in a way that they truly like honor who was. Maybe there's some kind of story that can go into that. I wonder if it's because everything at Marvel's so backed up right now. I wonder if Black Panther 3 is something they can remove from the schedule and kind of put more to. Sorry, Black Panther 2 is something they can take off the schedule and put more time into it, put more thought, kind of figure out.
They're going to have
their next move is going to be. Yeah. But I would hope that when they do continue on, I agree. I don't want to see his part recasted. I'd like to see, maybe the role, the mantle of Black Panther be passed on to somebody else, and then I'd like to see something with them honoring him. Maybe they have like a scene. Maybe they can go back and film something that has all the Avengers, kind of having this moment of silence for him. Something that pays respect to a hero that kind of came out of nowhere, right? We have this, not a lot of people had heard of Black Panther, and once that movie came out, like, it had garnered the not just the box office revenue, but just like the
cultural reverence,
the cultural and inspirational reverence from millions.
Yep, it does have a cultural relevance, probably more than any other movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've spoken to Big Haas, spoken to TJ Johnson, who hopefully I will get some thoughts from very soon. And I'm just hearing those guys as far as their love for Black Panther and what it's done for the Black community and what it's done for pop culture as a whole. Those are some of my best episodes and my best interviews that I've ever had. And hearing the joy and the pride that they had when they were discussing Black Panther and what it meant to them, it was just truly inspirational. And again, I'm hoping to have some more interviews like that coming up here in the not too distant future on that. So I'm just going to go ahead and say now that we will have a discussion more in more detail on the Marvel Cinematic Universe when it comes to Black Panther. But before you go ahead, I want to just say, I know, like you said, Shuri's been talked about already, Okoye and Nakia. Again, I want to get my thoughts together on that, but there's still just a devastating time that we need to go ahead and remember Chadwick Boseman.
So can I have one more thought before we close out here? Like you had mentioned, just what a great figure he was amongst the African American community. I want to mention, look at it like this, like, he was a great figure that not just was inspirational to the African American community, but to everybody at large. So that to me, like, that truly speaks like volumes about what kind of person he was.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just such a devastating loss in the community of pop culture. And as we continue to go ahead in the coming days, mourn the loss of Chadwick Boseman and the contributions that he made, not only, again, with Black Panther, but everything that he did in his career and both on and off the screen. Going forward, there's going to be some tough decisions that Marvel is going to have to make in regards to how they go ahead moving forward, because he was going to obviously play a key role down the line, not just in Black Panther 2, but beyond. And we'll go ahead here and keep updating you on what's going on, hopefully, as we hear more in the coming weeks and months. But again, we want to just go ahead and just remember the life of Chadwick Boseman, just such a great contributor to our lives, great contributor to our pop culture. And, with so much going on out there this year, 2020 has been really lousy, my friend, for everybody concerned. But cancer sucks, man. Just cancer really sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. I've had, I've known some people who are battling it and who have battled it, and it's not an easy road for anybody.
Nope, nope. As someone who has had mom and dad go through it, it's not fun indeed. But we do want to hear your thoughts out there, just like Troy Brewer, just like Jessica Boggs. They're sharing their thoughts. Noah Ian Fine sharing his thoughts. Just so many people out there sharing their thoughts on Chadwick Boseman. Again, the Twitter announcing his death, and the memories, and the great statement that was there alongside of it. It is the most liked tweet ever on Twitter, and that's saying something. So if you have any thoughts on the late Chadwick Boseman and the contributions that he made to the Black community, pop culture, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, his movie career, anything at all, please, you can always share it with us, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, Game Source, and pretty much anywhere you get your social media, including TikTok as well. Well, my friend, it's been tough this past few minutes talking about the late Chadwick Boseman, but I know you had some stuff you wanted to talk about with reviews coming up before we hit the break, coming up at the half hour.
I sure do. Can I ask you a question real quick?
Oh my gosh, here it comes. Go ahead.
So, much like you despise movie King Arthur, I watched Birds of Prey last night, and it was horrible. You had said to me that you thought it was an okay movie, so I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. And I sat down. I did not like a single minute of it, and it had nothing to do with like the overall like man hating tone of the movie. That didn't bother me at all. I thought it was actually like very well acted, very well. The characters were very well portrayed, but it was just like the writing and the editing was bad. The story was so jumbled, like it was really hard to follow. What were your overall thoughts on the movie?
I just don't remember very much of it. That's the problem. It went by. It just watched it, and it just went by. I just thought it was all right, but forgettable. That's the problem. There were some solid, really good reviews on it, and I'm just questioning myself why. I thought it was okay, but this is a year. This actually details the year 2020, that there have not been a lot of great things to come out on the cinema or streaming this year, period, which I'll go into here later. But I want to go ahead and say that my thoughts on it it was just it was just there, and that's the problem. It needed to be something more.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a movie that if it had done well and it had really, garnered an interest, I think DC might have a big future for it. But now that it's just and it performed at the box office, they may make another one, Birds of Prey 2, just to make sure that Margot Robbie's happy if she wants to go ahead and move on with it. But as a vehicle for her character, I think what it's done now with Birds of Prey and the lack of success is it's garnered a lot of less interest in the Harley Quinn character going forward, because I know a lot of people were just like, okay, she's in Suicide Squad. Okay. Nobody was really caring about whether or not if it was relating to her story in Birds of Prey or not. And that's the thing. That's the kind of imprint it leaves. So I'm kind of, I don't want to say concerned, but it just shows that not a lot of people are enjoying now Harley Quinn and the character Margot Robbie, who plays very well. But unfortunately, it's not leaving a great imprint now, because I think people have become a little bit fatigued by her character.
Yeah, so okay, here's my thought on this is that the Suicide Squad it should have just been called the Harley Quinn movie. So you go back here and you watch Suicide Squad was like it was a very boring film. You know, I didn't
No, it was a
dislike.
bad. Now that was bad. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, let me put it this way. To me, Birds of Prey is an Academy Award-winning movie compared to Suicide Squad.
So in Suicide Squad, like I've actually been thinking about this a lot. What made the movie so bad? The characters were slightly enjoyable. I thought that Will Smith was such a high caliber actor that he kind of like overshadowed all of the other characters, you know. And then I really do enjoy Captain Boomerang. I think he is like one of the funniest parts of that movie. But for the most part, like the it's just it is so jumbled and disconnected and so boring. The whole movie outside of the the hour of backstory we get is just them walking from one building to the next. And then, you have this part with they have five, not one, but five Harley Quinn flashbacks in this movie. There is no reason for the Joker to be in this movie. What that showed was that they don't have faith enough in Harley Quinn to just let her be her own character. So we were to Birds of Prey, same thing, right? Birds of Prey, amazing property. I have always loved those characters. I even love the short series that was on now CW, I guess, for such a limited time. I love the characters that they showed in what's the Seed cartoon? What's her name? Not Black Canary, the girl that has all the
Poison Ivy?
not Poison Ivy, the girl that has all like the animals inside of her. Um I forget what her name is. Anyways, but like the characters that are in the Birds of Prey comic book have always been interesting to me. I've always enjoyed that story. And I think they took that, what could have been a really great story, and then they threw Harley Quinn in there because they were like, oh, well, Harley Quinn sells things, but she doesn't. And they just kind of made the movie circulate around her so much because we got, again, a whole butt ton of flashbacks about her, and it completely overshadowed all the other interesting characters in the movie. And because of that, they should have just called it the Harley Quinn movie and had it as like a way to maybe introduce some of the Birds of Prey characters and then giving them their own movie. What this shows is Warner Brothers does not have faith in female-led superhero properties, and that's really sad to me because there are a lot of really good ones out there.
Well, you're going to see more of Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie. Again, she plays the role very well. It's just, at what point are we going to become fatigued? I think a lot of people are becoming fatigued with her character because we're going to see her again in Suicide Squad, but that's not going to be until 2022 at the earliest. So at least there'll be some time now for you to go ahead and watch other characters from the DC realm before we go back to Harley Quinn once again. What are your thoughts out there on Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey, and Suicide Squad coming back into theaters in a couple years? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's the back half of the hour. Got more to talk about, including some of the stuff that you've been reviewing as far as video games are concerned. So go ahead, my friend. Tell me what video games you've been talking about, or just what games you've been playing, man. I want to know what games you've been playing. So share us your thoughts on that.
So we've been to E3 a couple times, and then I went with Chad one year without you. And we see a lot of these indie games pop up that are like, yeah, that looks cool, and then you just kind of forget about them, right? So I've been sitting down. I sat down on Friday, pulled out the Nintendo Switch, and I was just kind of like looking at what's on sale. And then I come across a Short Hike, and I remember seeing that at E3, and then also seeing it in a Nintendo Direct, and I'm like, this game, it sounds familiar and it looks interesting, so I want to play it. So download it. It's $7 on the Switch Shop. You can get it. It's like 70 to 80% off right now. So if you guys have a Switch, buy it. The game's probably about 4 to 5 hours long. If you do all like the little side quests and all that, so it's worth $7. So anyways, in this game, you are literally doing what the title says. You're going on a short hike. You play like this humanoid bird thing, and you're trying to get to the top of this mountain to get some cell phone reception. Right? Go figure. This is a game in 2020. People love cell phones. So as you're trying to get to the top of this mountain, you're encountering all these individuals all over the place. Like you're learning how to climb. you're going on little side missions to collect a shovel or shells or whatever that person sends you off to look for. And then you're kind of like hiking around this trail, and then you need to collect these golden feathers. Like there's maybe, I want to say, like 4 or 5 little side missions that help you get to the end of the game. But it's very soothing, like they have the sound effects of the wind, and like the soundtrack doesn't overpower it. Like you hear nature in this game, and it's such like a cartoony kids game, but like I loved it. Like I love just sitting there and immersing myself in it, and I could just kind of zone into this game and go, ooh, a path, and ooh, I could do a double jump here and catch the wind and glide around to this point I've never been to. You're literally spending the entire game trying to get to the top of a mountain, and it's a lot more fun than it sounds. Have you seen the trailer? Do you remember the trailers for this one?
No, not really. I mean, I would have kind of remembered one where a bird-like thing looks for some cell coverage, because I'm looking for cell coverage every day when I go to certain spots here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Verizon must not exist in this game, or they must all have AT&T. No, but like it, no, it is like it's a fun game. It looks like something that would have been developed on the Nintendo Switch, but it plays like most Switch games. It plays very smoothly, and like it's not, you don't feel compelled to sit there and play it all in one sitting, but before you know it, you already have. So definitely check it out. It's worth that $7. I would recommend it to anybody who has a few hours to kill, or you just sitting in the car or traveling somewhere. It is a great game. Second thing I've been playing. Do you remember Spiritfarer? They showed the demo of this at E3, last E3, about this girl and her cat slash dog. I still can't tell what it is, on a boat, right? And you have to ferry souls into the next world. So do you remember this? And you have like build your buildings on your boat, and you have this whole community running around your boat. It's basically like it's a management simulator kind of.
Yeah.
But it has this story where you are the replacement for Charon, the boat keeper of Greek myth. He quits his job, or he decides it's time for him to go into the afterlife, and he makes you the new Spiritfarer. And so you have this boat, and over the course of the game, you're going to different places, talking to different people, gathering resources to keep building up your little village on your boat, because you have to create guest house for the spirits that you collect to stay in. And each spirit has a different character. They have a different story that they can tell you. You can fish off this boat. You have to make food. You have to grow stuff in your garden. Like it's a management simulator, but it's on a boat. It's a really great game. I haven't finished this one yet, but I am really enjoying my time with it. It's very soothing. Like a lot of these indie games are very soothing to play, just the way that the music sounds. It's not overpowering your senses. Hearing everything going on in the game, whether it's like a splash in the water or the wind going by, like it's all very well thought out, very well put together. If you like to build things, you like to manage things, you're a fan of like SimCity or Roller Coaster Tycoon or any of that stuff, this would be a game worth checking out. It is on Xbox Games Pass, and it is free. So, download it. Send us your thoughts at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. I'd really be interested to know what you think. I'm going to be posting a review of these games in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. But, if you have some time to kill, I think that A Short Hike and Spiritfarer are definitely 2 games worth diving into.
I'm also going to be posting reviews this week for Sisters Royale, something that I've tried to stream, but I've also already given thoughts on previous episodes, which is okay, pretty good for $15 game. You can get on Switch. And then also as well, the reboot or remake or reimagining of Destroy All Humans. I'm going to go ahead and post a review on that, because I got a Senate code on that this past week. So want to go ahead and share my thoughts on those both of those games at popculturecosmos.com as well. So look for that. You'll also see more stuff from us coming up here when it comes to reviews, because Bill and Ted Face the Music came out this past weekend, head to head, as far as what VOD versus what we saw from New Mutants, which is going to garner about $7 million this weekend, which I don't know if you want to say that's a win, but I think it's a win considering that a lot of people were excited about it. So New Mutants, $7 million at the movie theaters. But Bill and Ted Face the Music was also coming out this week on VOD. And I want to say that I got a chance to see it, and I want to tell you, it borrows a lot from the first film, and I mean a lot as far as the concept and the ideas. And unfortunately, the movie kind of falls a little flat because of it. It's there. It's okay to me. To me, again, it just falls into that scenario where we've seen a lot of movies this year, even with COVID, that have been released on streaming platforms, and you can't say that any one of them almost out there are really that good. I mean, it's just been a down year for everything, and that includes movies. And this is no different. Bill and Ted's Face the Music. It's not a bad movie. It's just there. But again, it's nothing original. It becomes a little bit convoluted as far as the time jumping, which everybody seems to know and be familiar with now, and how they do that. It becomes a little bit convoluted, and it really can't tell a great story because of it. William Sadler's death, to me, is the only positive really to speak of, because he's back and he steals the show once again. But unfortunately, he's only in a few scenes, so you really can't go ahead and say, oh, this movie is just entirely lifted by him. But it is Bill and Ted's Face the Music. I'm really not a huge fan of it. I've seen the other two movies, thought they were pretty good, but this one came out, it's like, it was there. Nothing great, but unfortunately, nothing bad either. I mean, but fortunately, nothing bad either, but it's there. And it just seems to me that this is the entire theme for 2020, is that these movies are just there. They're either some action pick, popcorn flick with not much thought put into it, or movies that you're hoping that could charm you that are really not that good. Again, the only movie I could really say that's would be on maybe a top 10 or top 20 list for me this year is Palm Springs. And that's a shame, when some of the best movies I've seen, or the best streaming things I've seen, are docuseries or documentaries, because I'm going to talk about here in a sec. But are you excited to see Bill and Ted's Face the Music, or have you had a chance to even watch it as of yet?
No, I actually was gonna do it this weekend, and then I think I got sidetracked. So I'm gonna try to watch it this week. I was honestly like, wasn't really. Here's my thing with Bill and Ted movies. Like they have moments where they're funny. I think they were just such hits because of the time they came out in, and I was figuring that like this new one would kind of just be a playing to that nostalgia. I didn't think we were going to get
It's a money grab, man.
Film. Yeah, exactly. So I wasn't really under the impression we are going to get a huge box office smash from this, but it was something that years later, it is nice to return to some of these franchises. I was kind of looking at it in the same way that I looked at Clerks 2, right? Like, did I want a Clerks 2? Not really, but was I disappointed that I watched it? Not really, or no, not at all. Was it a great movie? Yeah, it was okay, but I don't regret its existence, So that's kind of what I was banking on experiencing with Bill and Ted. Did you
a lot
go
of people
into it
were
with
excited, man. A lot of people were excited to see this.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's the Keanu Renaissance, man. Were you going into it with big expectations, or what was the expectation pressing play?
My expectation for the movie is that I thought it would kind of create a new spin on it, because the idea is for a new audience to get into it, not you and I, or not anyone that remembers the 90s movie so fondly. They will obviously have got that crowd hooked. It's to get a new audience in. But the problem is, it might charm some of those people that really want to see a retread of what they've seen before when it comes to the Bill and Ted movies. But for getting some, let's say you have some parents and their kids. The parents might still get some interest into it, but the kids won't have any idea why you were watching this, because they'll probably either think it stinks, or they'll just it just, for them, it will not be a great time watching, because they won't understand the charm of it.
Is it full of 80s references like the old ones were, or was it kind of?
It's just basically it takes liberally from the first movie, as far as the structure, how it was built, what the synopsis for the plot. there's some other side things that come into play that really makes it convoluted. So it kind of it gets bogged down by itself. The movie does, and it gets weighed down. There's some other side things they throw in that just again it doesn't need to happen, and it's just a retread pretty much of the first movie. And unfortunately, that's not really what I was hoping for. I was hoping for something a little bit different from them, and I didn't really get it. So.
All right. So would you say somebody who casually has a couple hours to sit down on the couch and watch a movie, would you say that this is a good movie for them to watch?
Not really, but I will
Okay.
tell you what a good thing you should see is if you have HBO Max, and that is Class Action Park, my friend. I know you and I are on the West Coast, but you like amusement parks, don't you?
I do. I do enjoy amusement parks.
Okay. Well, if you want to know a little bit about the history of certain amusement parks, there's one in New Jersey, or there was one in New Jersey called Action Park in the 80s and 90s, which a lot of people frequented back in the day. And this park is known now these days, or almost, I should say, infamous. It's infamous for the very reason that it was one of the most dangerous, in fact, the most dangerous amusement park ever built, with slides, with water slides, with waterfalls, with a wave pool, with a motor world, with alpine slides, and all of them were dangerous with motorboats. Yeah, and they were talking at length about the things that they did, the workers that were there, the injuries that would happen daily by the dozens, and the deaths that were involved. But the way they structure it at first is so hilarious at times, and so cool. You're just aghast at the whole thing, as far as how can this continually go on, as far as all these people getting hurt, all these people getting injured, and yet the park stays open year after year after year and is popular year after year after year. People in that area were using going there as a rite of passage, as scars up and down your body, as a rite of passage of going to Action Park. They were talking about, the nicknames they had, like for the wave pool, calling it the grave pool. They were calling about, like, again, it's Action Park, but they called it Traction Park and Class Action Park, man. And the things that they had to do as far as the kids that were running it, because they were mostly hiring kids that are 14, 15, 16 running it. So you can imagine the kind of free-for-all that was going on there. People just going crazy, guests that were just doing pretty much anything that they wanted. And the results and the things that came out of it. I mean, it's just so funny at times, the things that they described. And then it gets into a moment of sheer emotion, because they describe some of the deaths that happened in the movie, that happened during the course of the time, especially one in particular, because it is real. These deaths were real. These injuries were real. These permanent things that happened to these people because they went to Action Park. But still, at least the parts, again, that were describing about the measures that they took, or lack thereof. Like, for instance, they would have, how wave pools every now and then they have to have people come out of the park to clean and whatnot at wave pools all around that if you're near you at the water park, they would do it just to make sure that they didn't have any bodies on the bottom. And then they had these big jumps in the waterfall, with a waterfall way down 20 feet below. They had to paint the bottom white so they could make sure that there were no bodies down there. There was no bodies down there. Nobody hit their head on anything. They talked about electrocutions. They talked about, people getting impaled, people getting, just all the stuff that just, you got to laugh, or you're really going to really feel all these weird emotions coming up. But it is really impactful, and just, it makes you go say, wow, how did this place even exist?
So let me ask you this. Like, you say dangerous. Like, I'm picturing this all in my head. It sounds like that was that movie with Johnny Knoxville, Action Park or whatever it is, where he runs the theme park and people keep
That's
getting
it.
hurt. Yeah. So is it what makes it dangerous? Is it the fact that everything's very poorly built, or they just like, cranked everything up to an unnecessary notch of power?
Well, first of all, Johnny Knoxville, his interview with what's the guy's name on ABC Late Night? His interview. What's the guy's name on ABC Late Night?
Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, no, not Jimmy Fallon. With the Man Show, he did the Man Show.
Oh,
Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah,
Jimmy Kimmel,
yeah. Johnny Knoxville's interview with Jimmy Kimmel is at the preface of it, where they talk about Action Park and their
Really?
memories of Action Park. So that's prefaces the whole thing. But yeah, about how this is so dangerous. But getting back to your question is because the people behind it, the individual that came up with the idea, the individual that got the financing for it, the individual that got was responsible for it, did a lot of the engineering himself and thought, oh, let's go ahead and do this, the type of deal with a loop on a water slide, or this something stuff that really didn't have a lot of thought put into it, but just thought would be a crazy idea. Some of the stuff was created on cocktail napkins, to give you an idea. And
so was Twilight, though. So let's
okay. Well, fair enough. But some of the stuff was really how it got invented, how it got built. It was just crazy, and obviously a lot of people suffered for it. But the thing is, droves of people came back year after year after year, knowing the danger, but they would go back because of the fact that they felt like it's a rite of passage. That to me is almost astonishing in and of itself. So again, this movie is in detail. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and check out a coverage of it, Defunctland on YouTube does a nice job for 15 minutes. But if you really want to go into detail and a deep dive on everything about Action Park, whether you attended there or whether you just want to know about the world's most dangerous adventure park ever, theme park ever, you want to check out Class Action Park on HBO Max. It is one of the best documentaries of the year, per se. I did see McMillions. I thought that was a huge winner. This stands along right there, and I think it just shows that HBO really does a great job. But again, more and more these documentaries are really garnering favor with me as some of the best products I've seen on TV, streaming, or the cinema this year.
Well, I'm intrigued. I do want to check it out. Can I ask you one more question?
Mm-hmm.
Do they make people sign waivers before going into this, or is it just kind of like a free-for-all?
It's the 80s, man. What do you think?
Yeah, true. All right. I'm intrigued now. I do. As soon as I finish High Score, I think I'm going to jump on over to this one.
You should. It's a one-watch type deal. It's not a series. It's a one-watch type deal. Let me put it this way. When the owner is forced to get insurance and he creates his own insurance company in order to go ahead and provide insurance, and it's a fake insurance company, that tells you something right there. So it is Class Action Park. It's on HBO Max. If you really want to be surprised and aghast at how this could actually happen, you want to go ahead and check out Class Action Park today on HBO Max. Well, my friend, we've got a little bit more to talk about before we head on out, and that is PUBG Mobile being promoted by Epic. That's right. The people behind, obviously, the big game known as Fortnite, which is undergoing a lot of issues right now as far as the mobile end, with both their fight against Apple and also Google, got promoted as far as the Twitter account, as far as them promoting PUBG as an alternative, which is so crazy for them to go ahead to the point where people are in Epic are just, I think it's Tim Sweeney, that were just promoting, PUBG Mobile as far as an alternative is concerned, which is crazy, my friend, because it's come to the point where this fight, it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. Fortnite players are having to build, they're talking about doing stuff in Fall Guys that remind them of Fortnite. They're playing older versions of Fortnite. It just seems to me that this is getting way out of hand between Apple and Google and Fortnite, and the gamer, the player, is the one that's losing out most of all.
So there's a lot of weird things going on here. So one, their lawsuit is not just going against it's not just attacking Epic, it's attacking Unreal, the company that makes the
Yeah.
engine for Unreal. And this is affecting a whole lot of other
Yep.
games because all these games are developed on either Unreal or Unity,
Yeah.
and Unreal is kind of the big one here. And so what's funny is Apple was heavily promoting PUBG instead of Fortnite, and then Epic went over and promoted Fortnite instead of PUBG because Apple was basically trying to troll Epic. But Apple has since removed everything Epic has ever made off of their app store. And so they terminated their profile, like they terminated their content creator account. So what this is going to show is like this is not a good thing for Apple to be doing right now because Apple is under investigation as well as Twitter and Facebook. And this is just not a great move because I think it is going to show like there are shady business practices going on right here.
Well,
And
remember, Google's doing much of the same thing as well.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, if this is their taking legal actions against Epic and Unreal, like this is going to we're going to start seeing the dominoes falling. It's also ironic because a lot of the stuff that are on Apple games are also developed on the Unreal Engine. So this could have Apple is essentially covering themselves in paper cuts and jumping in shark infested water. Like they're bringing about something that's going to be very bad for them in the end. And I think that there's going to have to be some kind of settlement before this gets really ugly, and it's already kind of becoming incredibly ugly.
It is becoming incredibly ugly, and it's very, very sad to see. But again, I know Epic, some of the things that have come out is that Epic has wanted a special deal for Fortnite with Apple and Google. I don't think they should get that, my friend. No matter how popular Fortnite is, they should not get a separate deal for a better cut than what other publishers on that. It should be just straight across the board. Maybe you should lower, Apple and Google should lower the publishers, thing. I know they probably won't, but Fortnite should not get a special deal no matter how big they are.
Well, 30% is a lot of money, especially considering the sales that Fortnite makes.
But again, if they get a cut, let's say go this to 15. That's not fair to others that still have to pay 30.
Right. And that's my next point here is that these other companies, they can't afford to go to war with Apple. Epic can afford to go to war with Apple. So I would hope that if things turn out well for Epic, this would create a re-examination all across the board for all these companies who have to give 30% of their profits to Apple. Because if you're not making a whole lot of profits, 30% it can make quite the difference in whether or not you make your next Q2 earnings or Q3 earnings.
It can make quite a difference. And that's a shame that this is still continuing. This is still moving on. This is still going on between Apple and Google and Epic. But I don't see this ending anytime soon unless something comes out of left field, like a settlement like you were talking about, Josh. But I don't think this is going to end anytime soon because, like you said, Epic has a lot of money stored up, and they're still getting a lot of money from whoever's playing on PC, whoever's playing on PS4, who's ever playing on Xbox One. So they're getting a lot of cash still. So they're still being fed a lot of money. So they have room to fight. Plus the fact they have all that money that they've built up over the past couple of years because of the explosion of Fortnite. And you're talking about also the games that are powered by the Unreal Engine. So I'm sure that they get either a wholesale price that they got for selling the engine to them, or they get a cut of whatever game that's been produced out on it. So there are all these variables that Epic is still garnering money from, and they have the time. They're willing to buy their time against Apple and Google. And I don't know, my friend, this is just going to get more uglier by the week.
Yeah, and I also think it depends heavily or relies heavily on this investigation into Apple and Google and all that, and the direction that takes as well.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts out there on what's going on between Epic and Apple and Google? Are you a big fan of Fortnite? Do you think this is quite unfair to Epic? And do you think also as well Apple and Google have some rights in this situation? But you want to hear your side on which side you're on. You want to hear your thoughts on which side you're on. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Again, I think it comes down to the point where maybe Apple and Google need to reevaluate their earnings and how much they take off of these games that publish on their platforms. But share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but one last thing before we head on out, and that is Haunted Mansion. It's a movie that has been greenlit for development, but not Guillermo del Toro's Haunted Mansion, a new envisioning of Haunted Mansion, which itself is being rebooted because there was the Eddie Murphy version back in the day, about 20 years ago, from Disney. Two quick questions to ask you before we head on out. And first is, what's the deal going on with Guillermo del Toro? Because it seems like a lot of his projects, like a new Hellboy and other stuff, doesn't seem to ever materialize. And that's a shame because he is an Academy Award winning director. Mind you, he doesn't make the most popular films, but he is an Academy Award winning director. So why is his stuff overlooked so often?
Well, he's not like, yeah, he doesn't make the greatest of films, but I would certainly say that his films are quite beautiful. You look at the creatures in Hellboy. You look at Pan's Labyrinth was an amazing film. Um, his it was his he helped design the CG in The Hobbit. Granted, those aren't great movies, but the CG does look really good in The Hobbit. So like, if you're anything Guillermo del Toro is involved in, he puts a lot of time and effort into it. And so I think the issue here is that he excels at making these big set pieces, beautiful creatures, beautiful world, but it just takes him a really long time to do it. So I have this feeling that Hellboy 3 would have come out if, had it not been 2 or 3 years before he's able to get to the project. I think people wanted that money now. Same thing with Haunted Mansion. I know this was something he said he wanted to do, but it was going to take him 4 or 5 years to get to it. I think that Disney eventually just lost patience and said, we're scrapping this whole thing. So he takes a long time to do anything, but the things that he does do, they come out really well. And it's such a shame because I think his movies are more art pieces than anything else, and they just take a long time to make. And I think a lot of studios just kind of lose patience with that. And it's a shame because he's a very talented man.
He is. He is very talented. Obviously, the fact that he has won an Academy Award for Best Picture, The Shape of Water, it goes right there without saying. But that leads me to my second question. Since a Haunted Mansion movie is in development with other writers and developers, and that is this: Haunted Mansion is not the movie I would go ahead and remake. But again, Disney is going to borrow from everything. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. I know somebody else like Kelly Lanigan, he talked about the questioning why X-Files is going to be remade as an animated comedy. But, it's just, yeah. Again, we're borrowing from old ideas constantly. That's what we got to do for content, I guess. But if you were to make a Disney movie off of a ride at Disney World, Disneyland, Euro Disney, Disney Overseas, what ride would you make it? And what movie would you make? What ride would you make the movie out of?
You know what? I think that I would do. I think I would do Thunder Mountain. It's not like a. It's an interesting ride. It's a really interesting ride, and it has. I feel like you could do some kind of like really cool adventure story there, like an Indiana Jones type thing. Um, but Haunted Mansion. Here's my thoughts on Haunted Mansion. I think it would make a fantastic film. I don't see it being a franchise of films though. Like you tell you make a semi horror movie. I don't think it can be a comedy. It needs to be something that's like kind of a little more grounded, maybe have some comedic moments in it. That could be cool. The Eddie Murphy route was the wrong way to go, but there's so many stories to tell within the Haunted Mansion. And if they were to just like pick 5 or 6 of them and do them well within the course of like a modern film, somebody staying at this house, like that could be really good. But I see the Haunted Mansion again as one of those properties that like, oh, so and so like this character, let's make 6 movies about that. Like that's what Disney does. And I don't think the Haunted Mansion is the right movie for that. I would make Thunder Mountain. What would you make?
It's easy for me, and it may even it could potentially reinvigorate the Star Wars franchise. Rise of the Resistance, the best ride I've ever been on, and I'll tell you what, it's even better than any of the most recent trilogy movies. When you've got a 7-minute ride that is better than any of the most recent trilogy movies, I would love to see something based off that, because that would be just incredible. The whole ambiance of you going in, being captured by being captured by the evil forces of the Republic, and just it was so good. It was so good of a ride. It was so good of experience, being captured, being taken to and led to the Empire, and being and going off, facing off against Kylo Ren, and just all the things and all the parameters that you had to go ahead and go through in the ride. It is just a great experience as you go ahead and you escape the Empire's clutches, and the resistance really helps you out in that end. It makes a compelling story for both the Empire in the 3 movies that were just made, but also the resistance. You feel more for both sides than you ever did in the most recent 3 movies. And that to me is a shame for the 3 movies, but it makes for a great experience for a ride. So I'd love to see it as far as a Star Wars Rise of the Resistance movie, if it were ever made. But you probably won't, because John Boyega says he wants no more Star Wars. Daisy Ridley probably wants no more Star Wars. So you probably won't get it.
Yeah, I mean, and from what we've seen, you can't blame them too. Yeah, Star Wars definitely, like, with the next movie that comes out, they have a lot riding on this, because the next film could literally make or break that franchise. It could take the value. It's kind of the value of the franchise right now is kind of like wavering, but this could really like take it up or just destroy it completely. So Disney's got a lot of thinking they got to do for this.
Absolutely. They've got a lot of thinking indeed. But what are your thoughts on a ride that you would love to see turn into a movie from Disneyland, Disney World, wherever, as far as the Disney parks are concerned? What would you love to see turned into a movie as far as one of the rides are concerned for Disneyland? Share from Disney. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Once again, our respects to Chadwick Boseman and his family as we continue our thoughts as far as it's concerned. Again, if you have any thoughts on the passing of Chadwick Boseman, please share us your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos, on any of our social media. We'd love to hear them. And to the family, once again, of Chadwick Boseman, our ultimate respect. And thank you, Chadwick, for everything that you did for pop culture. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great